He vanished in an instant, but left behind a terrifying mystery. I always knew that my brother Ethan was different. Since childhood, he had seen things others couldn't. Sometimes he would talk to someone in an empty room or get scared of things I couldn't even notice. Our parents thought he just had an overactive imagination, but I knew that wasn't the case. Everything started in the fall when Ethan disappeared. That day he came to me with an unusual suggestion. "Dan, let's go to the old house by the woods. I need to check something." I laughed. "Seriously? People say a ghost lives there." "Exactly," Ethan nodded grimly, "and I need to talk to it." I didn't argue. I was 16. He was 15. We were no longer kids, but deep inside I still believed in his strange abilities. The house looked like it was ready to collapse. The paint had peeled away, the windows were boarded up, but the door was slightly open. Ethan stepped inside and I followed, even though every instinct in my body screamed, "Run!" Inside, the house was even more sinister. The air reeked of mold and dampness, and our footsteps echoed through the empty rooms. Torn pieces of old newspapers lay in the corners, some of them revealing headlines about disappearances in the area. Dusty portraits on the walls seemed alive, their faded eyes following our every move. Under my feet, something crunched. It was a small child's shoe left behind long ago. "Do you hear that?" Ethan whispered. I didn't hear anything except the wind whistling through the cracks in the walls. But then, a faint whisper reached my ears. It was everywhere and nowhere at the same time, as if the house itself was speaking to us. A cold draft swept through the corridor, and I could have sworn I saw a shadow flicker behind one of the doors. "They're here," he added. "Who?" He didn't answer. Instead, he walked deeper into the house toward what used to be the living room. The floor creaked ominously beneath us. I didn't want to go any further, but the fear of being alone in this place was even stronger. In the corners of the room stood old, dust-covered mirrors. In the dim light, they looked like portals to another world. A cold sweat trickled down my spine. In one of the mirrors, I thought I saw a blurry figure, tall, shapeless, as if woven from darkness. Suddenly, one of the mirrors cracked, even though no one had touched it. Ethan suddenly stopped. "They've come," he said, smiling, but there was no joy in his eyes. I wanted to ask who they were, but suddenly the air around us thickened with an eerie chill. The atmosphere turned heavy, suffocating. Shadows on the walls began to move, forming strange figures. I felt something invisible brush against my skin, like icy fingers. From above, I heard a scratching sound, like nails raking across wood. "Ethan, stop it! This isn't funny anymore!" I grabbed his arm, but he didn't budge. His eyes were fixed on the empty space before us. Then the most horrifying thing happened. Ethan suddenly arched backward, his eyes rolling back as a blood-curdling, inhuman scream tore from his throat. His body convulsed violently, as if some unseen force was controlling him. The shadows closed in around him, and before I could react, he vanished, right in front of me. All that remained was his clothing, crumpled on the floor, as if his body had simply evaporated. I screamed. My voice echoed through the empty house. I lunged forward, grabbing his jacket, but it was empty. The faint scent of his cologne still lingered in the air. Through the pounding in my ears, I heard something. A whisper, soft, distant, but unmistakably calling my name. I searched the entire house, shouting his name, but Ethan was gone, without a trace. Even the echo of his footsteps had vanished. I don't remember how I got home, how I explained everything to our parents. They didn't believe me. No one did. They thought he had run away. But I knew the truth. 10 years passed. I tried to move on, but one night, at 3 a.m, I received a message from an unknown number. "Dan, I found a way out, but they won't let me go." Help, it was his number, the one that had been disconnected 10 years ago.